I hope you all had a good day today. It's our first in-person meeting globally in 3 years. I think you could do better than that. All right, well, I get the distinct privilege of giving the closing talk because I organized this thing. And the first thing that I actually want to do is thank many of you who made today and this entire weekend a success. I want to start by thanking the FDA for their support of the 2022 OHDSI Symposium through the FDA Scientific Conference Grant Program. In case they didn't make it very clear, they're hiring, so anybody who's looking for jobs, go talk to our friends at CBER. Also want to really thank our scientific review committee. There's a lot of names up here. Could I just ask everybody who's on the review committee, could you just stand up? If you liked the scientific content that you saw throughout today in the Collaborator Showcase, you have these folks to appreciate. We got a record number of abstract submissions, and we tried to provide a very thorough peer review process for all of them to continue to push our community forward. So I really thought that the quality of the science that was presented this year was even better than in years past, which is really, really wonderful to see our community maturing. I also want to thank those that were helping both behind the scenes and in front of it for handling a lot of the logistics. Could I ask those that are volunteers, and Elise and Craig, could I ask you guys to all stand up to be recognized? I have no idea how Elise puts up with me, but it's wonderful to see her in her element here, back in person, instead of in Gathertown, doing such a wonderful job running this. So thank you, Elise. All right, so George introduced at the start of the day our Titan Awards, and we take these very seriously in the community because we think it's important to recognize when something extraordinary is actually going on. What I particularly think is most exciting about the Titan Awards is that these are nominations that are made by the community to other members of the community. So there isn't some secret society or anything that's going on to decide this. Instead, it's someone amongst you looking around the room and saying, wow, that person did something really great, and taking the time to nominate them to be considered for the community, which I think is a really cool thing that we've been doing now for many years. So first, I'd like to actually ask all of those that were nominated for the 2022 Titan Awards, could you all please stand up? I'd say you're all winners, but then that'd be a hell of a lot of trophies I would have had to drive down here. So alas, we'll only be able to award a few, but I think you should all take great stock in the fact that somebody in the community recognized the extraordinary things you're doing for our community. So I want to thank you for that. So without further ado, George and I are going to have the honor of passing out the 2022 Titan Awards. The first category that we're going to award is for data standards. And this award recognizes extraordinary contributions by an individual, organization, or team in the development or evaluation in community data standards, including the OMOP Common Data Model and standardized vocabularies. And the 2022 recipient of the Titan Award for Data Standards is Melanie Philofsky.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So well deserved.
Okay.
group photo. Congratulations, Melanie. Our Titan Award for Methodologic Research is to recognize extraordinary contributions by an individual, organization, or team in the development or evaluation of analytical methods for clinical characterization, population-level effect estimation, or patient-level prediction. And the 2022 Titan Award for Methodologic Research goes to Fan Bu.
Thank you, Patrick. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Congratulations. Our Titan Award for Open Source Development recognizes extraordinary contributions by an individual in design, development, testing, and deployment of open source software to enable observational analyses. And the Titan Award Committee, we actually received a lot of really deserving candidates in this category, and actually they couldn't decide on just one. So we're actually gonna have co-winners this year in open source development. The winners of the 2022 Titan Award for Open Source Development are Jamie Gilbert and A. Fridgerson. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations, Dave.
Congrats.
Awesome. Congratulations. Our Titan Award for Clinical Applications recognizes extraordinary contributions by an individual, organization, or team in generating clinical evidence that improves health by informing better health decisions and better care. And this year's winner of the Clinical Applications Award is Jingtong Li. Unfortunately, Jingtong, the wonders of a global community is that it involves some people requiring visas to get here, and some countries don't seem to honor them as well as they should. So as a result, Danny is going to receive Jingtong's award on her behalf. This is not Jingtong.
Go ahead.
Oh, you got the badge. There we go. Yeah. Our Titan Award for Community Collaboration recognizes an individual for their collaborative spirit in helping their fellow community members reach their goals. The 2022 Titan Award for Community Collaboration is Ajit Landi. I don't know where Paul Petrero is, but I think he got a good one there. Our Titan Award for Community Leadership recognizes an individual for their leadership in advancing the Odyssey mission. The 2022 Titan Award for Community Leadership goes to Paul Naji. Our Titan Award for Community Support recognizes an individual, team, or organization for their contributions to ensuring the sustainability of the Odyssey community. And the 2022 Titan Award for Community Support goes to Craig Saxon. We weren't sure if Craig was going to have to do like a selfie on that one. Jeff, would you mind getting a picture of all of them? Can you take the picture of everybody since Craig can't do that? I'll just say that Craig's wife's birthday is today, and so he's getting in a little bit of trouble for being down here. So if I could just ask on the count of 3, if everybody could scream, "Happy birthday, Jess." We're going to get it on the recording, and then at least maybe he'll get him out of the doghouse a little bit, okay? So 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Jess! Few housekeeping items. I hope you all enjoyed the Collaborator Showcase. We have other awards we like to recognize for our best community contributions. And so on the website, odyssey.org/OHDSI2022 Symposium, you'll see that there's a form that you can vote for best contributions. Please make sure to do that. Many of you, I hope all of you, have been trying to follow Odyssey on the social media. Craig's been doing such an extraordinary job of putting things out there. But one of the innovations that Craig came up with that I think is like really super brilliant is we don't just let these meetings be a one-day event. We try to actually take the content that you all produce and really try to promote it throughout the year through the social showcase that Craig has been running. And we also want to make sure that those that are recognized as extraordinary work get other opportunities to have encore performances at our community meetings. So it's really important for you all to vote for those that you thought were really cool work so that we can make sure to highlight it appropriately. Second thing is we've got an evaluation form for you all to fill out to let us know how we can do better next year. I hope that this is better than last year because it's kind of cool to be together, but I'm sure that there's always things that we could improve. So please let us know about that. I'm going to give a closing talk. I hope you'll stick around for it. If for no other reason, then we desperately need to get a group photo of everybody, and we're going to coordinate to do that. Craig is very jealous of Peter Reinbeck for getting all of those awesome pictures from the Odyssey Europe meetings, and we don't have the same cool thing here in the US, so we got to actually have a really good group photo. The other thing I'll highlight is many of you are sticking around for the weekend. All of our Odyssey Collaborate activities, they're actually downstairs from this space right now. So if you were to go down there, you're going to see an array of rooms. We'll have them all signed up, so you just check them out. Many of the sessions start directly at 8, right? 8. Our tutorial starting at 8:30, but we want you to get there early so that you can set up your laptop and stuff because it's going to be a hands-on activity. All right. So I'm going to give a closing talk. So I'd like to talk about how we can build a healthier world together. I was going back in the history of stuff that we've done, and I think the first time that I saw the picture of these little Lego bricks was from John Duke's presentation. It was actually part of our first phenotype tutorial that we delivered in 2016. And he had this exact slide taken out of his deck that basically said, data are like Lego bricks for phenotyping. And he had this kind of picture. And I thought a lot about, that was a pretty good metaphor for what we're trying to do. We're actually trying to build things together in some sort of way. And John riffed on this just to talk about we need to have modular ways to build inclusion criteria for cohorts. But I kind of took his metaphor a little bit to the extreme. Because I was thinking about how we can build things more generally and what we're doing successfully in our community. And part of what it starts with is our OMOP common data model. We've figured out a way to standardize data using a common structure and a common vocabulary that allows us to build an analysis and hopefully some reliable evidence. And George showed this picture, and we often think about this kind of cartoon depiction of our entity relationship diagram. But another way we could depict this is think about our common data model as a set of Legos. Because at the top, we can think about persons. Ultimately, we are trying to understand the health of people. And we can think about how we build down from that individual to capture all of the information. Actually, at the bottom of our common data model, the foundation is our standardized vocabulary. And that concept table is really the foundation, because what we're trying to do is link people to clinical entities and trying to figure out how to translate those things together. And my daughter Catherine is here, and she and I occasionally get to play with Legos, and I find myself trying to do various different things when I'm playing to build things up. So some people, when they play with Legos, they like to build upwards. So they put something on the bottom and they keep building up and up and up. And so I'd argue that many of our data domain tables in the OMOP Common Data Model really are kind of building up. We've got clinical entities across domains for conditions and drugs and procedures and devices and measurements. And some of these build on top of each other. We've got a table of notes that builds on top to have our note NLP table. And we've now introduced a visit detail table to build on top of our visit occurrence. Sometimes you could actually build Legos down, and I would argue that actually some of the derived assumptions we have to make in our data model are the challenges that we're trying to learn from. So the observation period, this idea that there's a continuous period of time that you're representing the data is an attribute that we can build down from the person. But collectively, what we have done is we've come up with information not just from clinical domains, but also health system domains like care site and provider and location. We've now got health economic information. I had a great talk with KY this morning about interest in expanding our research into cost effectiveness analyses. And we've now started to develop a whole set of derived data tables where we're starting to come up with best practices to how to represent this data in a more consistent way. And whereas we could start with two Legos that are far apart, when we actually start stitching this common data model together, we can build something kind of cool, or at least something that might not fall over. And I think where we're actually at this point, I think Claire Blackader's done an amazing job managing our CDM work group. And what we've seen is an evolution where now we're actually at the point of saying, like, how can we really make this even more rock solid? I'm not talking about necessarily that it's not something that we can evolve and improve and add extra Lego bricks to. But sometimes when you get a really, really good Lego set, you just want to keep it together for a little while. And so I think that where we're at with the OMOP Common Data Model is a good point of maturity where we can really start to focus on developing evidence given what we've got, but also listen and respond to the community as we think about how we might want to bolt on new Lego bricks. And I thought the lightning talk about the radiology CDM is a great example of a new Lego brick that at some point we're going to want to definitely bring into the community, because that was pretty awesome to see the evolution of that work. So I would say one of the things to building a healthier world is going to be that we need to be building standardized data, and we need to be helping each other with building standardized data. And I'm really impressed by the progress we've been making in this space as a community. Another area we can build a healthier world is to think about building open source software. And many of you saw, particularly in the software demonstrations, all the latest and greatest that are coming out of our OHDSI work, which is our health analytics data to evidence suite, which are all of the standardized packages that are going through a rigorous process to be evaluated and made available through our community. And Martin Schumi's done an amazing job in trying to bring together all of the package maintainers to try to have a cohesive mechanism for us to think about open source tools and following some best practices. And I really appreciate the work that Paul Nagy and Adam Black have been doing to cultivate our open source community to bring more developers to the fold. Now we can think about OHDSI as a set of Lego bricks, and we can think about each of the individual packages themselves as their own brick. And we've got some basic utilities like tools for accessing data through Database Connector or SQL Render to translate across different environments. We've got tools to do large-scale modeling like Cyclops. We have a whole collection of tools that represent cohort generation, cohort development, cohort evaluation capabilities in our community. We also have tools for population level estimation, whether it be design such as cohort method and self-controlled case series, but also tools for doing empirical calibration, which we've asserted is a best practice you should all follow, as well as to do evidence synthesis and meta-analysis across studies. And we're now evolving our toolkit and all of our Lego bricks for patient-level prediction. You may have seen now that the deep patient-level prediction package has been released, as well as the ensemble patient-level prediction. And Jenna Reps has done an amazing job in maturing this, and it's great to see so many other developers joining the fold there. Now, what I'll highlight here is that every single one of these Lego bricks is a heck of a lot of work. We need to have developers, ideally plural, that actually understand everything inside of this Lego brick to make it work. These are advanced analytics that we have developed across our community that make it possible for us to do some pretty cool things. At the same time, it's actually important that we think about not just having the expertise within the Lego brick, but how we put the Lego bricks together. Because it turns out that none of these packages really work in isolation. Rather, if we take an example like cohort method, this is a package that Martijn maintains that is kind of a foundational element for how we're doing comparative effectiveness research in our community. But this isn't all just Martijn's work. Martijn's work rests on the Cyclops package, which Mark Suchard maintains to allow us to do large-scale regularization. And it also rests on the feature extraction package, which Anthony Senna maintains. Without any of these pieces, and without these pieces fitting together, we couldn't actually run a cohort method analysis. But not only that, Cyclops relies on Andromeda, which is a package that Adam Black maintains, to make sure that if we're going to do large-scale analysis, we have to have the ability to have large-scale data objects that run. And we have to have SQL render to be able to work across all of our platforms. We also have tools like Parallel Logger and Database Connector, which are foundational elements, and all of these pieces have to fit together. Now, the cool thing about our open source software and making this modular approach to fitting all the pieces together is that once we can create a common foundation that we can all agree to, we can do some pretty cool things. Like, for example, we can use the same foundation not just to do cohort method, but to actually do patient-level prediction. And so Jenna's tremendous work on patient-level prediction, one of the things that she's done that I really admire and appreciate is that she's been paying attention to make sure that even though she's focused on advanced machine learning, she's paying attention to how Martijn is leading the population level estimation work and trying to make sure that those two worlds can stay together as close as possible. Because we want these to be the same Lego bricks that are stuck together. The idea that we can actually have exchangeable analytics is only possible if all of us who are maintaining all these individual packages can make sure that they all fit together nicely. And one of the big efforts that we've undertaken this year in particular in our community has been thinking about how we can actually mature our open source software to make the pieces fit together better. Hopefully several of you saw the demonstration of Strategist that Anthony Senna was giving during the Collaborator Showcase, showing how these Lego bricks can actually be stuck together in a modular way. And I hope that you also checked out Adam's work on targets, where he's saying if we can come up with these Lego bricks and put them all together, we can actually find ways to actually scale our analytics at a level we haven't actually been able to do before. So I would argue that one of the ways we can build a healthier world together is if we could actually build this open source analysis ecosystem in a way that we have to have depth and expertise in every individual Lego brick, but we also have to make sure that all the Lego bricks fit together to make this work. This is hard. It's hard enough to write one piece of software that works. It's exponentially harder when we start talking about lots of different very complicated pieces and making them fit together. But I would assert that if we don't do this, I've built lots of Lego statues with Catherine that look something like this, and they can fall apart easily if the pieces don't fit together nicely. So the work that we're doing now to mature and harden our software, I assert, is an essential component of where we're going to go if we're going to make this thing truly scale. Now, another area where I'd assert that we need to be building work is in the phenotype area. We now have tools for developing phenotypes. We've got tools like Atlas and CirceR and CapR and Phoebe, which provide us the capability to go into the process of developing phenotypes. We also have tools for evaluating phenotypes now. We have cohort diagnostics, which itself, which JPEG is now actively maintaining, which itself relies on cohort generator to produce the input. But we also have Phevaluator, which Joel Swerdell is maintaining, and that has a dependency on patient-level prediction, which Jenna is maintaining. But these pieces, if they fit together, provide us the capability to create a phenotype and evaluate a phenotype and put them together. Gautam's now maintaining the phenotype library, and this is now providing us a standardized way to think about how we can disseminate phenotypes amongst the community. And all of these pieces are great, and I really appreciate that we've got the dedicated focus to understand all the nuance and details of each of those Lego bricks, but also trying to make sure that these Lego bricks fit together. But ultimately, what we need are phenotypes. We don't need libraries of empty libraries with no books. We don't need the capability of generating phenotypes. We need phenotypes. And we've made progress in the community. We've seen a lot of work done to support our COVID work with the adverse events of special interest. We've seen work going on for Legend. We've had, as Aza presented, we've seen great work with Phenotype February. We're seeing good work being done for designated medical events. We've got a great workshop scheduled this weekend to dig into this. But ultimately, if we're going to build a healthier world together, we need phenotypes. We need phenotypes that have been developed and evaluated across our data network so that we can understand whether or not they're going to satisfy those objective diagnostics that Martijn and I told you about, to know that we can trust the evidence that's going to come from those phenotypes. So I hope that many of you will rally around the opportunity that's in front of us to help develop and evaluate phenotypes so that we get these Lego bricks in our box and it can build more capably with them. Another thing we need to do to build a healthier world together is to be able to build network studies. And we saw some nice examples. Lovedeep's example of characterization of type 2 diabetes being a great example of that. Here's the current reality. Building network studies is currently hard. And part of the reason it's hard is because it requires a lot of pieces. You start with the OMOP common data model. That's actually hard enough. Many of you are on the journey and you're still in the process of ETLing the data. Some of you might even be questioning if it's worth it, because it's a heck of a lot of work just to get to this one little Lego brick. And we've learned that just because you put your data together doesn't mean the data is ready for use. We've got great work going on in the community to establish data quality standards, and the data quality dashboard is another one of those Lego bricks that we can stack on top of the OMOP common data model to make sure that we at least are conforming to the standards that are being used. And you heard from Peter talking about Darwin that if we're going to do regulatory work, we got to take this to even the next level to be able to systematically inspect data quality before it's used. Well, we want to be able to characterize data, and we've got tools like Achilles that Frank DeFalco is maintaining that allows us to summarize all of the data that's in our database, and that can actually be extraordinarily helpful for just first understanding what your data is, or as I showed you with the work that Claire's doing with database diagnostics, providing you the evidence base to know whether a study is fit for use. Now we've got Atlas, which is a workhorse that many of you are using in the community to provide you a user interface to be able to design cohorts and analyses. And there was several new innovations that came out in version 2.12 that was just released. Ajit gave a great lightning talk about the reusables feature, which is super cool. And you also may have seen the work that Anna Ostropolitz and Chris Knoll had done to actually take Phoebe, which was a fun little idea that Anna and I had several years ago, and actually integrate that into and mature that into a release of Atlas. So Atlas becomes a building block that we can take advantage of, and it's really great to see, particularly in Eden, how we're seeing data partners have an obligation not just to get their data to the OMOP common data model, but to get tooled up by having the ability to run these tools. I already had 3 or 4 conversations today where someone's like, well, I'm working on the data, but I'm not sure I'm going to use your tools. Maybe we're just going to write SAS code instead. And I would assert that if you're going to standardize your data, there's no point in doing that unless you're also going to build upon that by standardizing your analytics. Now, once you've designed a study in Atlas, you may use the cohort method package. Martijn's done a great job of evolving this to really be the best-in-class approach for causal inference in the observational data space, as far as I can see. But that's not enough. Even after you execute cohort method, you then need to do this whole process of empirical calibration using a whole bunch of negative controls. And we got to build further on that, because once a site has executed a study and has an empirical null, they have to be able to share it. And Lee Evans maintains our Odyssey sharing package that allows us to distribute information between sites. But not only that, once I get the results from all of the sites, I then actually have to compile them and interpret them. And we have a package for evidence synthesis. And Martijn and Yang have published novel ways of us thinking about doing meta-analysis, but even still, it's yet another package. Now, I don't know about you when you guys build Legos, but oftentimes when I'm building things, I try to figure out exactly where's the line. I keep building it together until it crashes. And if I were to build a statue like this with the Legos, the problem is this is always going to fall down. And that's why some of our Odyssey network studies don't have the smoothest path to completion. We've got studies where it's like, well, geez, the execution of that study only maybe took a few weeks. Why did that study take months? Or why did it never actually get to the finish line? And oftentimes it's because these Lego bricks aren't actually necessarily as stable as we'd like for them to be. And we've built something that is a little bit more fragile than we'd prefer. One way to solve that problem is to actually build reinforcements. You can still have a cool statue like this, but what you need to do is figure out a way to provide something underneath. And I would assert that the phenotypes are our primary reinforcement that we need to be considering if we're going to scale Odyssey network studies. If we can have a phenotype library that contains all the exposures and all the outcomes that we want to study, whether we're doing characterization studies or estimation studies or prediction studies, that can provide us the reinforcement to design and execute studies. Because if we already had, knowledge that we've got a good outcome definition, we've got a designer that allows us to grab that design and use it, then suddenly these analytics that are going to use those components become possible. Martijn showed this slide during his talk, and I had several of you say that the plenary session was a little bit overwhelming, to which I'd say, sorry, and you're welcome. But I think if there was one thing you were going to take away from Martijn's talk, I would say that there was this slide. Martijn made an argument that what's going to be the focus of where we need to be is to think about pre-specification of a systematic approach. He said that the traditional approach that we basically have is that you've got to define a research question, generate evidence, interpret study reliability, interpret the study results, and all of that currently is largely an ad hoc and expert-driven process. But if we can standardize each of those components, as we've done with Legend, we're not talking about changing the game. We're not doing something different. What we're doing is actually building Lego bricks for each of these components so that we can actually put them together to follow a more rigorous, regimented process to get to that end goal for studying, for using study evidence. And Martijn already offered up to you an opportunity for the future, because what we showed is, I think, promising results that suggest that we can have a standardized approach for interpreting study reliability. But ultimately, interpreting study results is about how we're going to have the clinical impact, and we need to come up with standardized approaches for doing that. Now, I really like Martijn's slide. I think this is a good one if you take away nothing from that. But just to help you, I'd say that you could also just look at this as a bunch of Legos. Because we could think about the foundational Lego brick would be defining research questions. We want to come up with the right questions to answer. And I had a great conversation with Cindy earlier today where she asked, what's the best way for clinical folks to engage in the Odyssey community? I'd say, tell us the right clinical questions for our community to go after. If those of you who are clinically inclined and maybe not as up to speed on all of the Odyssey tools, if you can tell us what clinical questions matter, what indications, what treatments, what outcomes matter, we can actually systematize that and have that be the foundational element, which we can build on that to have standardized approaches for generating evidence. And if we build up that next step, that we can go on, as Martijn showed, to have standardized approaches for interpreting study reliability. And ultimately, we'd like to be able to have standardized approaches for study results, because what this does is provide stair steps to make it possible to use study evidence. And in this room, we are not exclusively the consumers of our evidence. In fact, I'd actually argue that we're the small minority of the consumers of our evidence. We're trying to make it possible and easy for those who have important health decisions to be able to get information that is reliable and trustworthy so they can make good decisions. We've got to make easy steps up this path so they can actually use the evidence that we generate. And so if we can focus on building these tools together, I would assert that we can build a healthier world together. Now, George started the day by presenting, as I'm also very excited about all of the collaborations that we're developing in the community. And we've got 27 work groups. It's super exciting to see everybody wearing their swag with all of their different colors. And I'm really excited about how we've been trying to formalize and support leaders in our community, and I'm really excited how many leaders have been raising their hand and contributing to this volunteer army that we're trying to build to work through all of these efforts. But one challenge that I've observed across our community is we've got 27 groups, and even this picture shows 27 different boxes. And a real challenge with that I see is that this is 27 teams, not one team working together. If we could instead think about how we can actually establish the collaborations and build the links between these work groups and between their activities, we can actually create a pretty reinforced lattice that doesn't just strengthen each individual and each individual group, but actually lets us work together towards some collective purpose that I would actually assert is much bigger than anything that any one individual, any one team, any one work group could tackle on their own. So my challenge to all of you is to consider what we've now used several times. Martijn introduced it a few years back, and I still am very much inspired by this, which is the analogy of the CERN Large Hadron Collider, where in the field of physics, you had lots of academic research in physics making kind of marginal improvement for many years, because no one lab or one group had the resources or capability to run the really big experiments, to generate the really big answers to the really big questions about the existence of our universe. But instead of continuing to work alone in their own silos, they came together and collaboratively built the Large Hadron Collider. And now you have thousands of researchers collaborating together, conducting these large-scale experiments that are, discovering the Higgs boson and answering other fundamental questions that explain our universe. Now, I would like to do something super big like that, but I'm not going to be able to do that by myself. But that picture there, that looks like a group of people kind of like this room I'm looking at here. The difference is they're all standing behind the one big thing that they were doing together. And I'm not quite sure yet we know what that one big thing is that we are building together. But if we could figure out what that one big thing is, I'm quite confident that we could build a healthier world with solutions that are far beyond what any of us could actually imagine on our own. So my challenge that I want you all to be thinking about throughout the rest of the time that you're here at the Odyssey Symposium and when you go back home is, what are we going to build together? I have the book. Craig's book, Our Journey, details all of our specific stats. We have 3,200 collaborators signed up in the Odyssey community right now. We have 450 databases converted to the OMOP Common Data Model, representing over 900 million unique patient records. George described that this is like a conservative number, but it still is 12% of the world's population. And I will assert that that is certainly an opportunity, but I'll also assert I think that's an obligation. We are the only community in the world who can lay claim to the fact that we have data across 40 countries around the world. And that means that we have an obligation to figure out how do we think globally to answer the big questions that that data resource could make available. We have developed open source software that has now been downloaded over 400,000 times on CRAN. That's crazy. But what that means is that it's not just about the 400 of you in this room or the 3,000 that have signed up to the community, but there are other people that are leveraging what we are doing in Odyssey and trying to propel the science forward. So we have an obligation to try to make sure that that is robust. We have been conducting network studies, and as George outlined, we've demonstrated that that value can be useful. But I think we're still at the point that we're still conducting individual network studies one at a time, or continuing to parade out legend one disease at a time. And I would actually assert that if we've got 3,000 members in this community, 450 databases, software that's been installed 400,000 times, that we should be thinking bigger. Because I would assert that we should be able to characterize the disease natural history of every disease together. Couldn't do that by myself, couldn't do that with my team, but I think together that's possible. I would assert that we should be able to monitor the safety of every medical product that's on the market, whether that be a drug or all the great work you saw in vaccines. I would assert that together we could build a system to do the comparative effectiveness so that clinicians and patients making difficult choices between alternative treatments could actually know which treatment would be best for them. I would assert that together we could apply patient-level prediction to actually personalize those decisions in a way that goes even beyond causal inference. Separately, as individuals, that's not possible. As 27 different work groups trying to do our own things, that may not be possible. But together, I think we could actually build something pretty extraordinary. So who's with me on that? All right. All right. That was only tepid applause. So I'm gonna try to make this actually about actions, not just words or weak clapping. You all are now going to become builders. I am going to be issuing the first Odyssey Builder Challenge. The first logistical thing that I need to do is, if you are not in one of the first 5 rows of tables, I need you all to move up and join a table closer up. So stand up and move up and join another table. Each of your tables is a team. So there's only maybe like eight chairs, but you can grab an extra chair and pull it together. But you guys got to all come up, join a table, join a team. Once you guys all organize yourself, you are going to get a project from me. And you're going to have 15 minutes to complete this project. I'll show you what a project looks like. Project's a bag, looks like a Lego. Inside of this bag, there's another bag. Inside of that bag, there are 5 items. There is a team membership form. First thing I want you guys to do is actually come up with a team name and write down all the members of your team on that list. The second thing that's in here is an instruction sheet. I'm going to walk through the instructions with you. You guys are smart people. You should be able to figure this out. But I'm going to walk through the instructions, and it's in here too. Also in this bag are 3 Sharpie markers. You're going to be using those not just to fill in the membership form, but also to write your name on Legos. Specifically, each one of you is going to write on a Lego. Now, each one of these projects is going to get a base plate that looks like this. So just like a square. Each one of them has a different random set of colors on it. And inside of your bag, you've got random Legos that can attach to that base plate. Your task as a team is going to be, as one team, do 3 things. First, come up with a team name. Write down all your team members on the team membership form. Okay? Do not use all of your time coming up with a creative name. Think about this as one of your 3 tasks to complete. Task 2, every team member needs to sign 1 Lego brick. So you're going to get these little pieces. You got a fine tip marker. I want you to write your name or initials on 1 Lego brick. Task 3, as one team, you are going to build the coolest Lego thing you can from your project. There are 36 teams in this room. This is going to be a fun little competition to see which team is the best team in this room. Okay? We've got volunteers who are going to pass out the bags, and Catherine's going to actually help me pass these out too. Oh, look at that. You drew the Odyssey logo. Awesome. Thank you. This is my daughter, Catherine, everybody. Whoa. Drag all that. You can hand them out. Okay. All right, so we're going to pass out these projects. We're going to make sure that you all get them. Do not start the project until everybody gets them, until I start the clock. The volunteers are going to be passing out the projects. While we do that, I'm going to provide you the specific ground rules for building your sculpture. Rule number 1, do not change the base plate pattern. I've given you all a bunch of random assigned things, but don't think that you're going to be more clever than me. Just take the colors in the picture that I gave you and see what you can do with it. Number 2, only build within inside the 16 by 16 stud area. I don't want to see pieces hanging over the edge, okay? You just get a square, that's all you get. We've only got 1 square to spare. Okay. Number 3, I want you to only build with bricks that match the color of the stud below it, starting with the base plate colors. So, if you see a blue, grab a blue Lego, put the blue on the blue. If you see a white, put a white on the white. Colors shouldn't hang over each other. You're just trying to build basically up in whatever creative way you want. You're gonna have lots of cool pieces to do lots of creative stuff, so you don't have to get crazy. Number 4, you each are gonna sign 1 Lego brick. Those must be used. So please use the Lego pieces that you sign, and you can also use any of the other Legos that come in your bag. What you do not need to use all the Legos. I think I gave you only the right colors, so you shouldn't have any like problem pieces, but you're not obligated to use them. Just use the ones you want, whatever it takes for you to create the coolest creation you can. So here would be an example of a base plate, 16 by 16. This one just happens to have some blue and some white. So it would be okay to take a blue Lego and put it on the blue Lego. That would be okay. It'd be okay to put a white Lego on the white Lego. That'd be okay. What you shouldn't do is put a white Lego on the blue Legos. What you shouldn't do is put a blue Lego on the white Legos. I don't want to see any pieces hanging over, and I don't want to see a blue one hanging over a white stud. So here's how it starts. Starts with an empty board. You're going to be snapping in all of your Lego pieces. And on the right-hand side, you can see two things you could do really well and two things you shouldn't do. Those are your instructions. Is everybody clear? Okay. All right. Everybody got their bag? Are all 36 bags out? All right. Let the builder challenge begin. Remember, it's all about teamwork. Got to design a good solution. Got to collaborate. You're trying to be creative. Hey, Spiggy. Oh, good. You know what? Is Dr. Lauren by herself? Can you go help Dr. Lauren with building up Legos? What can you build together? It's your 10-minute warning. What are you going to build? You're a team. You can work together to build something great. Just remember, when the time ends, hands up, just like a baker challenge. You're a builder challenge. Half of your time is now elapsed. 7 minutes, 20 seconds to go. Gotta work as a team to build something great. And remember what I said about building a firm foundation. Creative good art shouldn't be something that is feeble and falls apart. I think it's getting a little bit louder as people get a little more stressed. 6 minutes left. Clock is ticking. All right. We can do that. All right. All right. See lots of these projects being handed in. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Step away from the table. Step away from the table.
I said way away from my
Yeah, good
He
job.
worked very hard on
You work good? Good job, Catherine. Thank you.
But pieces to pieces, we didn't really choose what to make.
Oh, that's
We
okay.
just pieces.
Everybody good? Everybody good? Raise your hands if your projects are in. Okay, very good. Okay. All right, lower your hands. Raise your hand if you think you had the most creative sculpture. Wow. 36 first place prizes. Okay. Now, raise your hand if you had good teamwork. Okay. I see some like half hands, like, okay. Did anybody think if you had to do the exercise again, you would have thought differently about how you would have done teamwork? Or did everybody do it the best possible way? You were the best? You're already just a fully optimized team at Montefiore. I got it, okay. Okay, well, I would assert that one of the things that I pride about our community is that we do try hard to work together as a team, but building those teamwork muscles is hard, and we got to continue to figure out ways to continue to work on them. And so my team at J&J is like sick of me hearing.
Where's my notebook?
I don't know where your notebook is, Squiggy. Oh, there it is.
Where's my pen?
Oh, here you go. There you go. All right. Thank you. My team at J&J is sometimes annoyed with me because after every time we have a project, whether it be successful or not, but even all of the successful ones, the first thing I ask is, how could we do better next time? And I think that as us as a community, we need to be always striving for doing better because together we could actually do something great. I would actually assert that we could build a healthier world together if we actually just keep on working on continuously improving. So with that, I'm going to go review your projects and determine who had the best collaborative creative contributions. In the meantime, I'm just going to have you watch a little video.
Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. Everything is awesome when we're living our dream. Everything is better when we stick together. Side by side, you and I gonna win forever. Let's party forever. We're the same, I'm like you, you're like me. We're all working in harmony. Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. Everything is awesome when we're living our dream.
3, 2, 1, go. Have you heard the news? Everyone's talking. Life is good cause everything's awesome. Lost my job, that's a new opportunity. More free time for my awesome community. I feel more awesome than an awesome possum. Dip my body in chocolate frosting. 3 years later I shot the frosting. Smelling like a blossom, everything is awesome. Stepped in mud, got new brown shoes. It's awesome to win and it's awesome to lose. Awesome to lose. Awesome to lose. Awesome to lose.
Everything is better when we stick together. Side by side, you and I gonna win forever. Let's party forever. We're the same, I'm like you, you're like me. We're all working in harmony. Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. Everything is awesome when we're living our dream. Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of the team. Everything is awesome when we live our dream. Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. Everything is awesome when we live in our dream. Everything is better when we stick together. Side by side, you and I gonna win forever. Let's party forever. We're the same, I'm like you, you're like me. We're all working in harmony. Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. Everything is awesome when we live in our dream.
3, 2, 1, go. Have you heard the news? Everyone's talking. Life is good cause everything's awesome. Lost my job, that's a new opportunity. More free time for my awesome community. I feel more awesome than an awesome possum. Dip my body in chocolate frosting. 3 years later I shot the frosting. Smelling like a blossom, everything is awesome. Stepped in mud, got new brown shoes. It's awesome to win and it's awesome to lose. Awesome to lose. Awesome to lose. Awesome to lose.
Everything is better when we stick together. Side by side, you and I gonna win forever. Let's party forever. We're the same, I'm like you, you're like me. We're all working in harmony. Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of the team. Everything is awesome when we live in our dream.
Blue skies, bouncy springs. We just named 2 awesome things. A Nobel Prize, a piece of string. You know what's awesome? Everything. Dogs with fleas, allergies, a book of Greek antiquities, brand new pants, a very old vest. Awesome items are the best. Trees, frogs, clogs, they're awesome. Rocks, clocks, and socks, they're awesome. Figs and jigs and twigs, that's awesome. Everything you see or think or say is awesome.
Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of the team. Everything is awesome when we live our dream.
You want to have a person? So I want to have a special thank you to Catherine, who helped out with that, and to Teresa, who's in the back, who spent ungodly numbers of hours helping me build this. Thank you, Teresa. And to Holly for putting up with this absolute nonsense. So, we're good? We're good? Okay. So, you guys just did a builder challenge. You hopefully worked as small teams, and I told you that it's important for us to have depth of expertise on every individual Lego brick and figure out the ways to the Lego bricks together. What I didn't specifically talk about was the need for us to be able to trust each other, that if each one of us can build something spectacular, that together we can build something even greater than what we could do by ourselves. So if you wouldn't mind cutting to it, let's see what the evaluation actually looks like. Can we tilt it up a little bit? Maybe. Kind of. Together, we can build a healthier world together. We just got to figure out how to maybe be better builders and use our creativity in a pretty awesome way. So that was what you all just did. If you want to check out the collective sculpture that you all just produced, it's going to be in the back of the room there, and so you can definitely check it out. If you had a starring role in our video, your Lego minifigure is up here on one of these tables. So your parting gift for those of you who had a starring role is you have your own personalized Lego person. Oh, and this is Catherine's blue person. Catherine specifically came because she helped make almost all of these Lego people. They're clapping for you. Oh, yeah. All the things you saw that were not Odyssey, Catherine had built when she was littler, including that big boat that Dr. Yong gave you, huh?
I made it a couple weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago, that's right. So Catherine is actually here because she wants to help pass out all the Lego people that she provided to all of you that were a starring role. And for those of you who are either newer to the community or didn't make the cut into our video, we have an entire table of Legos to be able to make your own Lego. All of these Legos are totally personalized. They have the little Odyssey logo on them. You can make your own hair and do whatever the heck you want with it. So I encourage you to enjoy that. Before, and they're all up here in the left-hand corner, so you're gonna be able to come see yourself. You're gonna check out the other ones. It was a very fun little project for us to put together for this. Before you take your pieces though, it is time for us to do a group photo. And we want everybody to actively participate, just like you did as a good job of working together as a team to build that Lego giant sculpture. What we're gonna do now is do a group photo. This first 5 tables up here are actually gonna go away because you're all gonna come up to the front of the room and stand here. And Jeff, our support, is gonna come up in the front and take a picture from the stage looking down. So if you could all come up and get a picture. Oh, I'm sorry, before I say that, one more thing. You've got 2 extra parting gifts that I want to tell you about. You now all get an Odyssey t-shirt that says Building a Healthier World Together, and it's a picture of what you just created. Those t-shirts are in the back of the room on the right-hand side. So after we take the group photo, check out the Lego men, go get yourself a t-shirt, hook yourself up with that. The other thing that you are going to receive that you can pick up on your way out is you're going to get an Odyssey frame. This group photo we're going to take, we're going to send you the digital version of that group photo, and I ask that you put it in this frame and put it on your desk and remember this experience of us being together as one team building something great together.